Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 63 of the Top Loaded Podcast. And as you can see, we've got a bit of a change up. Whilst Harry's sunning himself, drinking all of the Pilsners and currywurst eating in the world, we are joined by the man himself, Aaron, who some people know from Investing in Soccer, most people know from the Grading Club. But Aaron, welcome back to the Top Loaded Podcast. How are you doing, my friend?
No, thank you very much for having me back. I'm very well. I'm very well. I've had a few days off, and now I'm back raring, back in the office, raring to go and continuing the current sub. But yeah, all is good on this side.
I was going to say, we were just reflecting a little bit there, like since the last time you was on, and obviously PSA at that time was about a 6 month value turnaround. That's business days for people listening as well. It's not 6 months in terms of January to July. It's 60. So like what 5 business days, like 6 weeks times 36 weeks or not. But now you're looking around like the 3 to 4 month turnaround. So it is heading in the right direction, and price, most importantly, just allow more collectors to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look back over the last year, probably over the last 18 months, to be fair, on the transition PSA and the other grading companies have come through, and that's where you can really see how the hobby has grown. All the numbers from the grading companies are up. PSA grading 1.2 million cards now a month, when 18 months ago there was 12 million. They had 12 million in the backlog, and I think that the best thing is the price. The price of cards, the price to grade, sorry, is come tumbling down. And as we were saying before, when I first started doing this, the cards were, you could only do regular or express. I think it started off at express, and then they opened up regular tiers, and the regular tier was also, I think it was like £100+. So over that 18-month period, it was really seeing the progression. And PSA, for example, well, like you said, they've gone from a year. Some people are still waiting on cards from about 2 years ago for some companies. But now, even if you submit yourself, sometimes you can get it back within a month. Sometimes it might be 2 or 3, but usually it's around 3 months, which is amazing, and it'll continue to get better. I'm confident of that.
As I say as well, what I've been really enjoying with PSA recently is they do their monthly offers as well, which is good because it actually targets certain industries, and they actually do it relevant as well. Like I see recently they done TCG special, but sometimes there's like even non-sport specials, which is quite cool, with like around Star Wars. So obviously we was briefly talking, obviously the Women's World Cup's coming up, and for me I've been targeting that, but even that obviously keeps you on your toes every month, seeing what the offer is. But even that's a great thing for PSA, trying to encourage more people to actually send some cards in.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that it's going to happen a lot more in terms of different specials, and again, not because not everyone collects the same thing, and not everyone grades every single month. So some people often just wait for the specials, and like I said, I think there's going to be a few specials coming up. There'll be a national special, I'm sure, and the national special was really really good last year. Obviously, some of my July bulk will dread and hate to hear the word July bulk, but this year, I think it's going to be a really good offer, and I think again with what PSA can offer in terms of just with a click of a button, it could be, as you say, the Women's World Cup, it could be a Champions League final, it could be the NBA. It could be so many things that they could target, and people can send in, a lot of cards at a really good price, whether they go through a middle person, whether they go direct. And it's just good that it's so accessible now. So many options, again, whether you go PSA, Beckett, SGC, CSG, CGC, or whatever the company is that you use. I just think, yeah, it's now the best thing with the whole of the hobby, to be fair, is that it's a lot more accessible now than what it was 12 or 18 months ago.
Yeah, I think that perfectly leads me to the next one. Obviously, you mentioned the different grading companies there, and there's one that has always been a particular favourite of myself and quite a lot of collectors is SGC. The pricing was always very competitive, and the time, even back then, it was about a 4-week turnaround to 6 weeks. But now it's crazy. I've seen some come back in a week and a half. So SGC offers that because I'm a very impatient person when it comes to grading. 3-4 months, but people can get it back within 3 to 4 weeks via you. SGC just offer that, and it's brilliant because they're giving that direct competition to PSA, and SGC is just offering that bit to the collector like myself who don't want to be sitting around waiting for their cards to come back.
Yeah, SGC are phenomenal. my favorite company, just based on the way they deal with a lot of stuff in the back end, the way if I've got questions, the way they're really quick to answer the questions, they're quick to, if there's any mistakes that are being made, they're quick to correct the mistakes as well, as all companies do make. So for me, it's always on how do you resolve that thing rather than the issue itself. It's how is it being resolved. And I think with SGC, that because again, like you said, I think the quickest one I've had back was within 5 or 6 days. And actually that was what again, it was just I was able to reach out to them, and I think it was for not the last London Card Show, it was the London Card Show before that. And I said, look, I know it's really tight, but we've got the London Card Show. It's our biggest card show in the UK. It'd be good to get these cards back. And they were like, yep, not say no more, no problem. And they was able to turn it around within like 5 or 6 days, which is phenomenal. It was a good few hundred cards as well. So like I said, I've got so much respect and love for SGC, the way they do things. But then on the customer side of things as well, yeah, the price of the slabs, 19, 18 pounds. Pokemon's only 11 pounds. I'm sure there's going to be other specials as well. But the way they currently differentiate themselves from PSA, because again, we all know PSA is 90% of the market, so they've got to do something different. What they're doing different is let's return these cards back as quickly as possible. And they're achieving that. They're achieving those records within 2 weeks. The cards have gone from me to SGC and back to me, and usually shipped out to the customer, which I think is good. They don't get as much value, which is one of the things. But if at that same tier you're looking at £20 for SGC and a £20 tier at PSA, but you're waiting a few months, then it does show that they can challenge on some way. Obviously, once PSA get a lot more quicker, then it'll be probably a tougher conversation. But I'd still always put SGC in the conversation as one of the best out there.
As I say, a lot of times I've been speaking to a few people in the hobby, and I've said to them that you've got to wait up. And I know you've had this talk on some of your lives before when you do them, which are always a great listen. But I always say you got to weigh it up that, like you say, you got a 3-month wait for a card. All right, you say 100% value you're going to get if it PSA 10s. But then if you get an SGC 10, say if it even does 75 to 80% of the value, but you're only got to wait 4 weeks, you can get that card, try and sell it, and grade something else and sell that in by the time that one comes back. And we know the football world, it's so volatile that one performance can triple a price or third a price. But do you expect to see a lot more people using SGC, especially when it comes to like your finals or even the transfer window, because they want to try and hit the hype rather than like the PSA is great? You might say, for example, a Declan Rice does move somewhere, you get cards influx them to PSA, but then by the time it comes back, it's already started the season. Whereas SGC, you can get it while the hype is still there of him waiting to make his debut.
And and I think there's multiple benefits to using SGC. I feel the grade a little bit tougher than PSA. And the benefit of that is if you then find SGC slabs in a higher grade, then they're likely to get at that same grade or higher at PSA, which then increases the value. So if you're worried about going on a fast tier for PSA and worrying about what the grade might be, why not send to SGC first? Because you'll get the card back within 2 weeks. It's going to be graded appropriately, and it's going to potentially, if you do get a high grade, it's going to cross over pretty successfully to PSA, so you're going to get more money at the end of it. So I rate them I rate SGC for that reason, that they're so efficient on the grading scale, in the time that they're willing to do stuff. I just think, there's a lot of benefits to just going through SGC first to then potentially go into PSA, notwithstanding what you said is the turnaround time and reaching those specific moments. If Haaland wins he's going to win the Golden Boot, but if Haaland wins the Premier League and the Champions League, and in that lead up, that week to 1 week to 2 weeks, after that event, it's probably going to be people are just going to be searching hard and getting the calling cards. Then it's probably going to die down over the summer, and then again we're into the next season. With SGC, you can get it while it's hyped, while it's there, and then at a reasonable price. You obviously can do that with PSA, but you're paying £100, you're paying £140 to get it back within that same time frame, a couple of weeks. So yeah, I think with SGC, there's just a number of benefits that can help the person who's looking to get some capital in sooner rather than wait a few months down the line.
Yeah, and for people who don't know, especially with PSA and SGC, one of the main differences I always see when looking at grading is with PSA, you look at a declared value of the slab itself, which is the actual price of it, Gem Mints 10, which is confusing at first. But SGC is very different in that fact of with the actual price value, whereas with PSA, you've got to work out the value, and then sometimes it's like that in between stage of whether it goes on a regular or it can go underneath on a value or bulk. Whereas SGC don't do that like pricing tier as much. And do you think that's also a benefit that people can send in potentially higher value cards with actually coming under their declared value, because you don't have to look at the different stages all the way from value up to walk through 4 or whatever it is. Where if that's basically if you hit the LeBron triple logo, man, and you've just won life and your hobby.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. It's another important part is that especially if you're new to the hobby, it's very confusing on because PSA do it completely different to the other companies, whereas you not only have to know what grade you're going to get before you send your card in, because you've got to declare the value, you've then also got to figure out in the time frame, is that card going to go up, is it going to go down, how fast do I want it back? There's so many more factors, whereas SGC, it's one, you've got to pay you £20, it's going to be 2 weeks, no declared value. I think it's only from cards. They only have a declared value on cards older than 1980, I believe. And then the price is a little bit higher. But with PSA, it's pretty much $500 and under, and then 500 to 1500 or something like that, and then it obviously just goes up after that. So that's definitely a factor, and sometimes it's difficult to explain to people who are not in the hobby why you have to have a declared value before, and it has to be the value of the card after it's being graded, even though you're sending it in before, which kind of doesn't make sense. I understand why they do it for insurance purposes, but it's very difficult when there's not many comps. And you mentioned like LeBron James in basketball, in baseball, in American football, there's a lot more comps out there. There's a lot more information out there, so you can understand better on what that card that you have might sell for. But in football, we don't have that luxury. We don't. There's so many cards that you won't have comps for. It can work to your advantage slightly, but in general, it's difficult, because then how do I know what this price is if this card's never sold before?
Yeah, I think, and the other thing I always say when people are new to the hobby, even experienced professionals in the hobby, is that one of the main differences as well, which can be very annoying at times, is when you try and look up the SGC pop report. It's very different to the PSA one. In fact, of PSA, you can type in the player's name. For example, if you wanted to see an Erling Haaland, anything graded, you literally type in Erling Haaland. You can go then even filter even more, go into soccer cards, and it brings it out. However, SGC, you have to know the actual collection, which can be tricky at times. No doubt. Not even from the collector's point of view, because especially some of my friends, El Toro Card, Jason, or L_Trey Louis, they have vintage cards. They don't know the set, so it's a tricky one for collectors sometimes for SGC. So do you think sometimes that also plays in, that they have look at a pop report, they can't actually see it? They actually sometimes have to wait for it to finish grading to even know where to find it on the pop report.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the learning curve that the hobby's still in, because I think because the companies act so differently, you get used to one thing and then it's completely different with how the other company operates. And like I said, finding information, I think that's I've always said there's two things that I think are lacking in the hobby space, especially within the UK. Two things that are lacking, and it's resources, finding that information, and its content as well. And I think those two are key to help move the hobby forward, because again, you're sending in a load of cards, you have no idea what the value is. you don't know what you're going to sell for. This is where you always get these conversations of comps. Are you selling it for the right comps, over comps, under comps? And it's kind of irrelevant at the moment, because literally, like, if there's one sale, like, you can't really, for me, I can't ever base that as a real factor, because it might just be one person who really wants a card. Back in my day, I used to collect Richarlison, as some people may know. And I know there's like only a few Richarlison collectors out there. So if I really want the card, I will overpay comps. But it doesn't mean the next person will pay that, or whatever it is. So I think resource and information is lacking. Again, you've got PSA, who has a big pop report. You've got Beckett, who do a price guide as well. But they're all Beckett price guide. I think it's a few £100 a year. So, like, in terms of the free resources, you're only really got 130 point. eBay sold, it could be shill bids, it could be this, that, and the other. So to get the information, I think is a task for anyone, whether experienced or new to the game.
Yeah, and on the last time you was talking about your plans for the future and what you'd like to get into it. And one of the main ones, obviously, the TCG world. Because, like I say, it's a massive world. We see that at, like, the likes of London Card Show, that there's just an abundance. So how's the Grading Club doing with TCG? Because I know, obviously, now with CG, for people who don't know, the trading card loves an acronym. You've got TCGs, you've got SGC, you've got CCG, everything. So how's, like, the actual TCG world coming along with the Grading Club?
Yeah, we've over the last 4 or 5 months, especially when PSA started to do the offers on Pokemon, we started to see way more Pokemon coming through. And even though there's probably only, I'd say, 20% of the people that grade Pokemon, actually Pokemon collectors grade, as it's shown, Pokemon collectors grade a lot more cards than sports people. So when people do send in Pokemon, they'll send them in 10s, 20, 30, 50 slabs, because they'll just, grade a whole part of the collection. So it's growing a lot. And I'm getting used to, the new sets. So whether it's Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z, had someone at the last London card show, I had 3 or 4 people actually, who literally just gave us the collection to look through and to evaluate. And, like, I don't get that for sports at all, but for Pokemon, it just seems a natural thing. So from that, we had 2 or 3 people grade, 20 or 30 of the collection. And yeah, it's a completely different world, but it's interesting to see how they do things. And again, it's just another learning curve for me and the grading club to get over. But it's definitely something we want to delve into a lot more.
So we had the chat with, like, London Card Show, and there is a massive market within the UK, no doubt. And it seems it's been with soccer collector, or even the sports one in general within the UK. It's very much a collector's space, whereas Pokemon, I see, especially at trade nights, you see a lot more up for sales. Do you think that could be one of the reasons why? Is it? It's obviously, it's a very hard discussion to have with the UK at the moment, how it's all going, but I really see our soccer, which is the main industry in the UK. Obviously, you've got F1 and everything else, but it's a very hardcore collector base. And I know people in the States said the same thing, that people are not really ever buying over it. So obviously, you get the flippers, but a lot of it is just PC items. Do you think that's why, as well, you don't see as many people grading? It's because they're like, oh, it's staying in my collection anyway. Do I need to really get more value, even though they just normally put it up? For me, I've got tons of cards ungraded, which need to be graded, but because I'm in the PC, I'm a bit like, shall I not?
Yeah, no, and I think with that, it's a really good point, that not everything needs to be graded. Not everything needs to be graded now. And I think with mine, I've got a load of PC stuff that I've not graded yet. And I've got these opportunities. I see all these specials, and I still don't grade the majority of my PC, because I don't think there's a need to yet. Like, I'm happy waiting for it, and I'm waiting for a really good special. Like, when I see a special where it might be $12 or 15, then I'll send in a boatload of cards. But it's that thing. I think the thing is with people now is people are spending more than they're receiving from just specifically from the hobby. So you're trying to recoup. So by sending in personal items that you're not going to sell. It's just more capital that you're spending. It's more money that you're spending. So you'd rather send in the cards that you're going to grade, that you're going to try and sell, rather than sell for the PC stuff, which you're never ever going to sell. So I think that's part of it. And I think with the hobby in the UK, again, I think it's just massively developing. People, because of whatnot, are now so realizing that the next step after getting cards is to grade. So there's all these new people in that don't understand grading, that don't understand the concept. And I think a lot of people grade to sell. And there's a lot of people who don't even entertain I don't need to send my cards in to grade it. And I see both points. Like I said, there's not everything needs to be graded. I always ask new people, what's the purpose? Why are you doing it? There's value in just slabbing the cards and for protection. Like, I'm OCD with my, so I actually don't like raw cards. Like, I just prefer them in a slab. I'm not too bothered about some of them being a grade, but just because I'm not selling now doesn't mean I won't sell in 3 months' time, in a year's time, in 5 years' time. And I'd rather have cards graded and authenticated for that reason. But again, I think what we probably need to learn a little bit more, especially in the UK, is each to their own. Like, not everyone has to do what everyone else is doing. Like, do what you're comfortable with. Know what your level of risk is. Know what your level of how much you're willing to spend on stuff. So like I said, I still think we've got a long way to go in the UK, but it's nice to be part of the journey.
Yeah, I think that's like for me especially. I think, like you say, raw cards, everything looks better in a slab, as you say. You get more UV protection as well. You get the hardest shell on it. Obviously, then it's for insurance. If you're going to insure a card as well, you know the grade. You've got that liability of it's already slabbed up. But there is other realms of like grading now, and it's not just cards. For example, I have one here, like a ticket that I had graded, and something like that, I thought it's more important to get graded because it's a paper-based ticket. It's so much easier for some fade to destroy it or little crinkles. So do you think that that's something you might see a lot more? Is that I think they have in comparison into the vintage world of they're more fragile. There's less of them, so it's more of a delicate. So that's much more worth grading because that's an asset that how I always say it is a ticket can easily like rip with ease. Same with some of the vintage stickers; they are wafer thin. So do you think that's one of the industries that you see a lot more getting graded, the tickets, or even like the older vintage stuff, because it's a rarity and it should be slabbed just for the protection alone. Even as I've said to a few of my mates, even if it gets an authentic, as long as it's slabbed.
Yep, agree. 1,000%. I think with the older stuff, with tickets, collectibles in general, I just think are gonna be graded. Maybe graded is not the word, but slabbed a lot more as the UK get used to it, because it's easier to display. Like, the simple fact is, and yeah, you could probably get a slab, from eBay if you wanted to go that way. But I think for me, they just look nicer, they look better. Tickets, I've got actually. It's a shame that they're not. It's a shame that they're not here. Do you know what? Hold on. Let me just check something. Let me check something.
Perfect. This is perfect.
Maybe getting an exclusive here.
Oh. So that, as we're saying, we've literally, for people saying, like, I now, people who don't even know this on the podcast yet, but I am collecting tickets quite heavily at the moment. And for people who don't know, especially in the ticket world, it's very much different to the card world, because a card, especially, for example, this Gabrielle, it's the complete item. Whereas tickets, you can get stubs, and now with the revolutionary of the digital world and the QR codes and on everything on your phone, it just doesn't exist anymore. So having tickets is going to, I hate to say it, but it's going to be a thing of the past very soon, of having these memorable occasions marked with a piece of paper, because it's just the digital world. They don't want to print tickets. It costs too much money. They've got to send it out in the post. It might get lost. Whereas if it goes straight to your phone, I think one of my biggest regrets was, excuse me, the Euro women's final. No tickets at all. So you can't get it done. Whereas you can get things from the 50s, 60s, really up until the 2010s, I would say, like early 2010 to 12. Away tickets, yes. Home venues, concerts, all that is just non-existent. So I
Yeah.
think that's going to be a market that's going to grow quite a bit within the UK. And I no doubt, I remember when you first launched tickets one, there was hardly any tickets coming through.
Yep.
Whereas now I see more on the conveyor belt coming through because people are realizing these are actually a piece of history. This is
Yep.
someone's witnessed Messi's first game. Can't see why, in the long run, people are not going to be collecting them as well as your cards.
Yeah, no, exactly. I do believe that tickets are going to be just a major factor in terms of collecting that moment. It means that you was at that game, or that person was at that game, and it captures that moment in history. I think so much better than a card set that's just printed based around that moment. That ticket, again, prior to you getting that, you don't know what's going to happen in that game, and then this magical thing happened, and I just think, I think they're amazing.
Yeah, I was looking at it the other day and I was thinking quite a cool system. I was trying to work out how to do it, but I was like, in Tops and Panini Instant, Tops Now, for example, they do create these cards about historic moments or occasions. I know people laugh like they brought out the coronation, for example, but it's like I was looking at the other day. There was actually a Tops Now card I didn't even know existed, but I have a ticket for the same match, and I'm like, well, they could be paired quite well. But then I'm like, that card is only just showing their picture of it, but because I was there, that ticket holds that much more value. And the weird thing is, some tickets go for next to nothing online because people don't know the significance of a thing. I bought recently Granit Xhaka's first ever goal for Switzerland. It was a game they played against Luxembourg, and the ticket with postage cost me £2.99. And I was like, that is pretty much a base card with postage. It just makes no sense.
Yeah. And like I said, I still think that they're gonna be I think they're gonna be a big thing. I think tickets are gonna be a big thing. I just think there's so much more emotion that can be attached to it. And a lot of the reasons people buy into cards or into a specific player, a specific team, is because of the emotion of certain things. Like, if for these, I haven't got the tickets, but I've got something else to show. The tickets, like Thierry Henry, for me, is, Thierry Henry's Arsenal debut, Thierry Henry's first goal for Arsenal. Those, you can replay those moments in your head. Whereas the cards, and again, a lot of the cards are based on, the same, they're based on an experience or based on something. But with Panini or Topps, for instance, they might use that same image of that player. They might use it 7 times throughout different sets, throughout different years. And it's like, how many times are you going to do that? But there's only going to be one moment. With that ticket is only going to represent that one moment. And I just think they can be magical sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that's we're moving into a world now. We see it a lot more as well, like comics, for example. That everything is going to be graded long run. I've heard murmurings of PSA looking into like the comic world. Obviously, they've launched their Funko Pops grading now. Which, if someone would have said to me 2.5 years ago, Funko Pops would be able to get graded at PSA, I'd have been like, yeah, no. But video games look like they're going to be graded. Who knows down the line what else is going to be graded? And I think that's showing. And I think with the collectible market, I think having some of these bigger auction houses like your Goldins, PWCCs, where it's all under one roof and they show off all these exhibits, is that people realize, like we said before, that there's more to collectibles than just cards. They go hand in hand with match-worn jerseys, for example, signed shirts, signed tickets. And that's the one thing we was talking about like quite a few months ago, was that it's so much bigger than just trading cards. Trading cards is going to be a foot in the door, and then it's going to open up the world. And if you're collecting cards, you would collect tickets. If you collect tickets, you're going to collect shirts. You've got the bug, and no doubt you've seen that from people within grading with you, that once they collect one thing, they're more likely to collect something else.
Yeah, and again, as an example, I'll always come to, imagine being in a stadium, a football stadium, and how many people will be collectors or investors or flippers or whatever you say, and there won't be many. But if you showed them these collectible items, how many more would want to actually do this? And I just think it's just a hobby that it's the best hobby no one knows about, because I just think what you can do on a daily basis, the collections, the people you meet, the fun you have, the the events that you can go to, that is just about these specific things. Like I said, I think it's a phenomenal thing. You mentioned Funko Pops and all these other things. Funko Pops is hopefully something that I'll be doing in the very near future. Because again, I just think it's just something. They're just cool. They're just really cool things to do, and I just think the hobby, as you say, it's a foot into the trading cards, especially, is a foot into doing something that you just love to do. Most people at some stage, I would say, have collected something or other, or are interested in something that might be, worth something at some point to someone, because it is all, it is all subjective. And like I said, I do think that there's so much room for the hobby to grow within the UK, because a lot of us are so passionate about our teams, about football, about people are basketball fans, people are NFL fans, but football is ingrained in a lot of us, through family, through school, through education, through just pure entertainment. So if you can capture that in a card form, in a ticket, in a shirt, in a match worn shirt, in a pack of cards, whatever it may be, like I said, I just think it's a wonderful thing. And I, often I'll look at my cards and it'll remind me of a moment, whether it be a moment from that match or a moment when I pulled the card. And it's just it's just a fantastic experience, and I just hope more people get to experience the life of the hobby.
As I say, the amount of people, even within the last 2.5 years since I've really been in the hobby, has grown so much. And it's weird that I've laughed and joked about it with some of my friends. I was like, half the time I speak to more people in the hobby than I do actually in normal life. Even though I still talk to them all, it's such a close knit group of people. And I had it yesterday, for example. There was a breaker who broke a personal box and hit a Xhaka redemption auto. Now, I'm not kidding you, I had about 16 people DM me as soon as it was pulled up. Oh, there's a Xhaka, and that's what I love, is people look out for. Obviously, at the time when you was collecting Richarlison heavy, as soon as a Richarlison come up, I knew everyone messaged you. But that just shows you what a close knit group of people is. That everyone. It doesn't matter if you're doing it subconsciously, that you see a card and you'll send it to someone. I think that's just, even that little aspect is just fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna message you about that Xhaka as well. But that's the beauty of it, and I think that's why I've remained in it, why I'm so dedicated to it, is that this, out of all different walks of life that I've been in, this has been the one where I have met people that I can truly say, will be friends for forever. Like, as long as this remains a passion, it's something that we can talk to we can talk with each other every day about. These groups that forget all the noise of what's going on in the world. It's like we can just be ourselves, and we can just collect and enjoy something that we all love to do. And I think it's a beautiful thing that when you get to certain ages, when you're not you don't go out every night, and you don't do the things that you used to do, that you're still able to enjoy, whether it go into a local card show, whether it go into whether you're entering a break on whatnot, whether you're just in a Discord, whether you're just texting with mates. Like, most of us every day are interacting with someone in the hobby, just because we love to do it. No other reason, not monetary, not we're trying to take advantage of someone, just purely for entertainment and for the love of doing something that you love to do. And I think everyone, I really enjoy when people do things that they love to do, just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's been a thing I've seen massively in the last 3 months. Obviously, the prices and the interest is still the same level. In my personal opinion, obviously, prices such drop, but a collector is never going to complain about the prices drop. Okay, some of your investments, or you might have bought a card that's gone down slightly in value, but the true collector knows that the lower the prices on some cards, the more chance there's going to be someone else to join in the hobby, which is only, the more people in it, the better. That's what my motto has always been, the same thing of. And like you said, when I first started collecting, I probably spoke to 5, 6 people in the hobby who I knew were collecting certain items. But now it's weird that you can speak to someone in China or you can speak to someone in the States. I closed a deal on an after women's card yesterday in America, and then you start talking to them, and like,
Yeah.
then they're like, oh, I watch all the women's game, and then I'll go to most of them, and then they're like, and then you end up just talking, and that's like you say, it builds their relationships within the hobby. But as a collector's standpoint, it's fantastic at the moment because cards, I remember where there's some cards that were never £150, were going for £150, but now they've gone down to like the £100 to £90 mark. And like you say, it's at the end of the day, a card is only as worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it. And like you say, if a really nice Shaka comes up, I might pay more than person B, but then person C might need that for a full rainbow. And I think the perfect example was I'm going for the Burnt Nano Rainbow, which has been going on doing my head in for 2.5 years now. And I finally managed to find the blue to 75. And there was one other bidder. I think their max bid was $5. Mine was $40 because I was like, I haven't seen this card in 2 years. It's not worth $40. I know that.
Yeah.
But the price of missing out is greater than the actual value sometimes.
Yeah. And again, nail on the head is like, that's where sometimes comps can be, you don't even need to look at comps because there might be someone who just really wants that card. And but for me, that's the beauty of the hobby. In there is essentially the beauty of the hobby is the chase, right? Regardless of what it is that you're trying to achieve in the hobby, it's always a chase to get a gem mint 10, chase to get a case hit, chase to finish the rainbow. We're always chasing something, and it just keeps it alive and it keeps it really exciting. And I just think there's nothing better. Like I've got the I'm going to show it off. I'm going to show it off as many times as I can. I got the Nonto 1 of 1 from Domris, and now I want to do the rainbow for that. Every time I think I hit Milivojevic, Crystal Palace 1 of 1. Like I might try and finish that rainbow now, but because it's Prism, there's about 54 1 of 1. So I was like, there's no point in that. But anytime I do get a 1 of 1, like I do want to, chase the rainbow, complete the rainbow. Then when it's done, you sell it on or you do whatever. But I do think, like I said, the chase is the exciting part. Yeah. And like I said, how the community works is once someone knows that you're trying to do something, like I've done it where and whether they're genuine or not, you never know. But like when someone's said, "Oh, I really need this card because I'm collecting this, or I'm 2 away from the set," and then as a collector, you lower your price. You don't then charge the highest thing because, like, well, someone's willing to pay me 100. This person's willing to pay me 80, but they need it for the rainbow. I will 100% always sell to the person who I know needs it because, again, I'd want that in my situation. If I really wanted a card, I'd hope that the person would be more willing to sell it to me than to someone else, rather than getting the profit. So yeah, this hobby and the community is a wonderful thing.
And I was going to say, your personal collection, obviously, it was massively Richarlison at one point, and sadly, he ended up at one club down the road, which he's only scored one. He's actually got more yellow cards for celebrating goals disallowed than actual goals, but we won't go into that because I know we have got some Tottenham listeners. But for your PC, obviously, you say you hit like the Nonto 1 of 1. Like, what are you kind of collecting at the moment? Because like everyone, it changes. Like for me, it changes month to month, so the viewers can kind of keep up to it. But for you, especially because everyone sees you looking at other people's cards, that rarely actually people ask you about your actual cards.
Yeah, and it's, to be honest, it's really tough collecting, like, because there's a lot of work that I've put into to get to the grading club, and I don't really enjoy. Sorry, I don't really have time to enjoy the hobby as much as I did, a year ago, 6 months ago. It is a lot of work, but every now and again, especially when there's a new product, I might jump in a break and I'll get some cards, and then I think I'm now trying to really reduce what it is that I do collect, and collect maybe 1 or 2 players, which I've still not decided on yet. So right now my collections is quite wide. But as I said to you before the show, opened 1 box of Panini Select. I ended up hitting David Beckham, which is nice, and hopefully I might be able to trade that or sell that. But again, it shows the other side of things, that it's the excuse me, the other side of things is that, like, because I get to see so many cards, like it doesn't feel like I need to constantly collect everything, right? Because I see so many things. So my choices, all the things that I want are really, really, really specific. And if they don't come up, I'm fine with that. But yeah, my collection at the moment is a bit wafer thin, really. It's a bit just of everything. If I get something in a break, then fair enough. I think I hit Julian Alvarez visionary card the other day. And that was about it. So yeah, nothing too specific at the moment, but it will within a few months' time. I'll have one or two players that'll be my collection for at least the next year or so.
Yeah, as I say, I've got the same point now where my main three are Xhaka. Everyone knows. I think everyone knows me in the hobby now for Granit Xhaka. Even before everyone else started collecting Granit Xhaka, that's one thing I will take to my grave is that I collected Xhaka before anyone else. But I, I'm
1,000%.
gonna I'm gonna allude into a question here from UK Baller Cards. Have you ever seen a card actually grade with you and then thought about collecting it yourself, or even say, for example, if it was a certain variant like a cracked ice or a zebra or a tiger, then you thought, oh, I'd actually like having that in. But one of the players I collect, I see someone the other day hit a tie dye from the new select, and I was like, oh, I better get the Granite Jack of that in the long run. So, do you ever see a card and think, oh, I wouldn't mind something similar to that or the actual card in my PC?
That's interesting. And again, even though I alluded to before that, like because I see so many cards, I don't feel like I need a collection or anything. At the same time, I don't really see the cards. Like I don't have time to kind of admire them. Like it's literally in and out kind of thing. So I don't really get a chance to kind of. Oh, it's only like if I do a live reveal, and then on the live reveal, I was like, oh, I've not seen this card before, because like I said, it's usually in and out of the door. So there's not many. I've probably seen especially modern card. I've probably seen every type of modern card that there is. And I don't get any envy, I don't get jealous of any cards, but I did see there was a Thierry Henry 1997 Panini foot sticker, which to this day, actually no, there was two cards. There was a nice actually Emil Smith Rowe card that I saw, which was I think it was his impeccable card, that was a beautiful card. But there's nothing in terms of sets. Like I just love, my thing is I love color matches. I absolutely adore color matches, and I saw the someone submitted a zebra Newcastle card, and it looks insane. It looks amazing. So yeah, but yeah, me for me, it's more a color match. I love color matches, but nothing specific that I've said. Oh, because someone submitted that, I didn't want to start collecting that.
As I say, you see such an abundance, especially even if it's just on your reveals where you go through. And a lot of people have seen you very surprised when you see a card. And on the last one, I had to giggle a bit because you see the Michael Jordan, but it's the reprint 10 years after of his rookie. And at first, you thought it was his rookie. So that must happen sometimes because you don't see him that you actually thought, oh my God. And then you're like, oh, actually, hold on, let me just double check before I go mad.
That definitely happens. Yeah, sometimes because I don't see the cards before they shipped. I do get often a surprise of what it is, and sometimes it's a reprint or something like that. But that genuinely shocked me because I was like, oh my God, is this a Michael Jordan in an SGC 9? Wow. Because again, even with that one of the reasons I was in the hobby was because of Michael Jordan and The Last Dance. And about 6 months prior to that, before The Last Dance, when it was just talked about being made, that's kind of roughly when I started to really go in deep on the hobby. And it was because of people talking about investing in, this is going to be the next thing. So there was like, it kind of was a bit more of a deja vu moment than anything. And I thought it was a Jordan rookie, which it would have been insane, but it was still a beautiful card.
Yeah. As I say, and now obviously we've talked about like how the Grain Club's doing now, obviously growing exponentially and looking at the future. And obviously there's been a certain word beginning with W that has been on the cards for a while, but it seems like it's finally going to be dawning of the day of it arriving. And as you said on many of your lives, that it's really going to be the next step for the Grading Club. So the website is obviously, all fingers crossed, touch wood, very close to launching. So I know we spoke about it last time on here that you think this is the next step for the grading club and it's going to make it easier for the UK collector. So are you, without trying to block it or anything, are you looking forward to when you can officially launch it and trial run it, that hopefully it just makes all the processes and even checking up on your cards where they are that much easier for the general collector who's using your service?
Yeah, absolutely. Because again, I feel the frustration, of when people aren't aware where the cards are, or cards taking longer than expected, or there's just not the communication there. And the simple answer is, the simple reason is just that this website should have been ready 8 months ago. And many errors that have led it to take it this long, but it should have been ready 8 months ago, and because that was the time when the grading club really started to scale up, and for have one, two, even three people deal with the amount of cards that we've got to do with it, it's almost unmanageable, because there is so many different scenarios. You got people have so many different requests or ways they want things doing. It just makes it kind of almost impossible sometimes to manage the submissions and the amount of submissions that are going out. So the website centralizes everything. So I understand all the frustrations that people have, and the concerns, the complaints, and it's one of those things. It's, until the website is in place, it's really hard to get the right process in place, because a lot of things change. The prices change, the turnaround times change, the amount of collectors change on a monthly basis. There's so many changes on almost a weekly basis that it's really hard to manage through doing, because it's usually about 7 different processes that I've got to follow. But the website then helps bring all that together. It'll help people track the cards. It'll help people with the ease of submission, just general information about grading, about values of cards, a lot of things where rather than asking the questions in the DM, you'll be able to search on the website. You'll be able to go to your account section, see what cards you've submitted. You'll be able to go to the website and see what stage those cards are at a grading company, and it'll just make everything a lot easier, and a lot more people happy.
Yeah, and obviously that's going to be one of the main bits. Is there anything else on the horizon that you're looking like? I know you just mentioned Funko Pops. Like, and is there anything else that you're looking about branching into? Because, like we say, there's a lot of stuff always launching with these grading companies and for yourself. So, is there anything else you'd like to be getting? Because I know last time we were saying, "Oh, get into the TCG more," but is it trying to get more tickets, or is there anything else that you've got like trying to tick off? So when you speak next time, we can see how you've done progress with that one.
Yeah, there's is definitely go into the TCG space more. That's definite. Go to more card shows for sure. And grade a wider variety of things. Again, in the last week, people have been asking for Funko Pops. People have been asking for shirts. So I'd like to be able to offer as many graded collectibles as I can. So the grading club is that if you want something graded, regardless of what it is, that's what the grading club will offer. I think, again, because depending on obviously the next time we speak, the next major change will be the website. And that will probably take around 6 months to really fully integrate and get the right features on there, the right processes on there. There'll be a lot of features that will add just that little more to the grading experience, changing of packaging. So there's a lot of little things that are going to be happening over the next I'd say 4 weeks that are really gonna it'll be night and day between what the grading club is now compared to what it will be in probably about 5 weeks time. So looking forward to all those changes, and hopefully everyone else is too.
Yeah, like I say, everyone listening on, we will keep you updated on when it does launch, and obviously testing all that. No doubt, me and Harry have spoken. We're going to be testing it out for, obviously, for help the viewers out. We're going to test it ourselves and refer back it on here, because I like to say, not everyone loves a spreadsheet, but websites make it so much easier. So obviously, people should know where to find you by now if you haven't started. But there could be someone listening to their first ever episode and they want to grade their first ever card. So what is best to to find information regarding the grading club, and also just in general if they wanted to submit cards?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best form of contact at the moment is Instagram and following us at thegradingclub.com. Sorry, following us at the Grading Club. Hopefully within about a month the website will be live, which is www.thegradingclub.com, which does have some information on. There is a live chat function on there as well, so you can contact us through there. You can email me if you do have something specific. You've got a question. I'm a lot more people recently wanted to do a Zoom conversation or a phone call rather than DMs, which I'm absolutely more than happy to do. If you just got, a query that, you want more than a message on there. So you can email me at Aaron, which is AARON, Aaron at thegradingclub.com. And those that's the best way. That's the best way to get in contact.
Yeah, like I say, if you're listening along or watching along on YouTube, do check the description down below. It'll be all the information you just said there to make it easier for people. And likewise on Instagram, it'll be in the links below. But like we say, it's been a very interesting year of grading. We look forward to the next year of what some of the stuff I've got to send, which will be going off very soon. But as you say, is there any final messages you'd like to say to not just obviously the actual graders within everyone, but actually that the UK hobby scene in general?
Yes, two things. Because I did say I was gonna show what I had. So these are what someone graded. These are Pokemon packs. So again, another service that people I think is going to become popular soon is grading packs. So he graded quite a few packs there. In general, just for everyone, just to be kinder to everyone else. Like I think I see a lot of comments where people are putting other people down, and especially on Facebook, just not there's some comments that some queries that I just don't think generally good for the hobby. Like I think people here just want to collect. There's people, there's scammers out there. There's people who do bad things, but there's so many people who either are just new and just want some advice. And I just think, sometimes it can be a bit of a toxic place, especially in the UK. I think sometimes it can be a bit toxic, whereas we're all doing this for the same reason, for the love of it. I hope most of us are doing it for the love of it and to make a bit of money. So if you're just kinder to everyone, the hobby will be so much better because of it, and it'll grow a lot more. So I'll always try and spread kindness and happiness where I can. Obviously sometimes people get very disappointed when they get poor pre-grades. The destroyer of dreams, some people call me. But like I said, in general, that I think the hobby's in a really good place. I think it's growing. I think it's learning. I think that's the key to this all, is that it's still in its infancy. We're a few years old in terms of the mass appeal of it. Obviously, there's been people collecting for decades, but the mass appeal of it is something completely new, a few years old, and it's going to continue to grow. There's going to be more products. There's going to be more companies that are going to try to more platforms where you can buy, trade your cards. So there's a lot to be positive about, and there's going to be a lot of growth. And I just want people to focus on that more than focus on specific issues. And as me at the Grading Club will always try to do the best that I can for the Grading Club, do the best that I can for the UK hobby, through lives and getting people like yourselves on who were influential in terms of progressing and moving the hobby forward. We don't want to stay in the same place. We want to be better on all fronts. So that's my spiel of my lasting thoughts on the hobby at the moment.
I think it's fantastic. We put, and like we say, sadly Harry wouldn't, but thank you ever so much for coming on. No doubt we'll be speaking very much in the near future. But like we said, we will definitely be keeping everyone listening along updates of when we start grading again. We'll get them up on the podcast, but also when the website launch, we'll be talking people through that and seeing our personal opinions. But Aaron, thank you so much. We wish you the best of luck in the coming future. No doubt everyone will be seeing you at a show near soon, whether it's up north or down south or even over there in the States. But like I say, thank you very much for coming on, and we wish you the best of luck before we talk to next time.
Yes, nice one. Manchester Card Con, 27th of May. If you're there, I'll see you there. The National, I'll also see you at the National if anyone's going to the National. But yeah, thank you for having me on, and look forward to the next conversation.
And like we say, thank you everyone yet again for joining us on another episode of Top Loaded Podcast. So from Harry, who can't be here, we wishes you everyone all the best, but don't worry about him. He's having a good time. We're here doing the business for the UK scene. He's out in Germany having a good time. But everyone out there, make sure you are staying safe, buying, selling, trading, and all that good jazz. But most importantly, stay safe and happy hobbying, and good night.